Hey everyone, tonight's video will be a little different because I'm actually just going to talk about Maya Angelou. As I'm sure you've probably heard, she passed away this last week, and since this is a poetry channel, I really felt like I should post a video dedicated specifically to her. I'm going to admit up front that I actually am still kind of in the learning phases of Maya Angelou. I own 2 of her books, but I haven't read them yet. I tend to buy books when I find them if they look interesting, and then they pile up. But I actually pulled them out because I really would like to read them now. I've known about her for a very long time, but part of the reason I never delved into any of her work was because I had a couple of teachers and a couple of friends, especially like in high school, who really didn't like Maya Angelou, and they, just felt all these different things, and I, not knowing really any better, took their word for it and just left it alone and didn't really study her or look into her. I actually just found out this week that one of my favorite quotes is by her, and it was funny because like 2 days before I found out that she passed away, I actually had posted that quote. I don't know why I didn't know it was by her, but a lot of people began posting it, and the quote is that people will forget what you said and people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I just feel like that really resonates with a lot of things that I want to do, and just kind of my life's motto in a way. Anyway, so the older I got, the more I actually started hearing good things about her, and so I started actually doing a little bit of my own research. That's about the time when I bought the 2 books of hers I have. And they're not poetry books. They are books about her life. And I did read some of her poems. One of her poems was actually taught to me at a creative writing workshop I took 3 summers ago. And it really resonated with me. It was Still I Rise, which I'm going to read at the end of this video. I know that that's one of her really popular poems, and it's probably cliche that that is the poem I'm going to share with you. But I think there's a reason it's one of her most popular poems, and there is a section in particular that I want to talk about after I read the poem, because I've actually noticed that it hasn't been quoted hardly at all this week, and everyone's been posting bits of this poem or quotes by her, and there's one stanza that everybody kind of keeps leaving out, and it's actually my favorite stanza, and it has been from the beginning. And then actually today, one of my favorite musicians, Amanda Palmer, pointed out that it hadn't been shared, and she kind of referenced it, which I thought was interesting. So anyway, I kind of started to find out more and more about her the older I grew. I recently found out that a very close friend of mine really, really loves her work, and actually got to see her speak in person once, which I think is such a blessing now that she's no longer with us. And, something that's been talked about so much this week is, oh, she was such an advocate for womanhood, or she was such an advocate for African Americans or female African Americans, and there's all of these like boxes that people keep putting her into. And in what little I know about her and what I do love about her, I prefer not to put her in there as necessarily just a woman or just an African American. I really think that she was just an all-around great human and a great advocate for being human, because she talked about so many aspects of the human condition that people are afraid to talk about, or when people talk about it, they do so in a sentimental way, not in a serious way, and that's something that I think made her brave and made her important, is that she was not afraid to be human and not afraid to talk about what we as humans need or think or feel. And I mean, like that favorite quote of mine that I shared, that in and of itself, I think, exemplifies the fact that she was just an amazing human and really understood that it is the things that we feel that we will never ever forget. And I think in a way she tried to do that with her poetry. She tried to make her poetry or her words make the reader feel, and that's what they don't forget. Not maybe the words themselves, but what the words left them feeling. And that's actually something I will talk about here in a minute. I want to read her poem now, Still I Rise, and I apologize for my little lisp. It will be very apparent while I read this, but I'm going to do my best. Okay. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. So the stanza that I really love and have loved from the first time I heard this poem was, does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? I feel like that stanza hits such a deep part of me, because in today's world where there's so much of a movement for not necessarily feminists, but femininity, femininity being expressing yourself as a woman, whether you dress completely modestly or you dress as sexy as you want because you want to, those things are really being challenged, and at the same time they're really being fought for. And this poem was written in 1978, but even today in 2014, I mean, I've been having a lot of conversations recently with people about, the rights of being a woman, even just dressing. And I think, that even that very first line, does my sexiness upset you? That is such a profound question, and it sparks a discussion which could be a whole entirely different video, but right there I think she hits the nail on the head with, womanhood and being human, because when, that question, does my sexiness upset you, could be asked from one woman to another or from a woman to a man, and even vice versa, from a man to a woman. And the fact that, sexiness is looked down upon as bad or evil, I think is something that we as a human race right now are really trying to overcome and change the idea and perception of. And I think that Maya knew this, 30, 40 years ago, and continued to speak about it. So that's, I guess, the point of my video, that I am still learning about her. I am still learning different aspects of her work and her as a person, and loving them as I come across them. And I just wanted to share my own thoughts about her. And I was actually very sad to find out that she had passed. I always want to be able to mourn people like that, and it's not that I didn't mourn her, I just didn't know enough about her to feel a sadness that was deeply inside. I felt a sadness, and I still do, but not as deeply as I would if Neil Gaiman died, or Anne Rice, someone who I've really been able to connect with as they are alive, and meet in person, and just keep up to date with things that they're saying and doing and making. And I'm sad that I didn't have that chance with Maya, and I hope that I will learn to appreciate and love her even more now, and I hope that people for generations, I know that people for generations will study and love her work. So if you have any personal stories about Maya and you finished this video, that is very long, please share them with me, and I will post another video with some of my own poems soon. Have a good night.